Well, while the country has been kept on tenterhooks on the cabinet announcement, President Ramaphosa is expected to make an announcement soon. Deliberations among 10 political parties in the Government of National Unity have neared their finality. The engagements have not been without any hiccups, with the DA demanding key cabinet positions. Well, for more on this story, I'm joined in studio by SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeche. Thank you very much, Mzwai, for joining us.
Thanks, Nompo.
Good stuff.
Thanks to the
so,
listeners.
what is the reality as you know it? Because there's so many different stories and versions about where we are. Where are we at in terms of the discussions? And is it true that President Ramaphosa has basically given the DA an ultimatum, take it or leave it?
Oh, well, I think the reality now is that I think that intro was very clear to saying we are nearing finality. I think quite a lot of things have been done, and it's just a matter of time before the president, I think, makes his final announcement. Obviously, some of the issues that have been very difficult were around the discussions, particularly with the DA. I think that's where we're going to in terms of your question, where we are now. So we understand that the DA was made, to call it a final offer, of about 6 ministries, and I think a number of deputy ministries as well, so to which they agreed. But at some point, I think one of the key portfolios that had been offered, we understand that could be trade and industry, so may have been changed with another one. I think it's tourism. So somehow, I think the DA didn't take candle to that. And what is basically happening now is that the FedEx, the Federal Executive Committee of the DA, will be meeting this afternoon to basically reflect and decide on exactly this final offer that was presented, which was somehow accepted. And then based on some of the alterations, so to speak, that's when we'll know whether the DA will be part of the Government of National Unity or not. But it does appear that they may be unhappy about certain departments or even some of the numbers. Remember, their original demand was quite high, but they don't seem to have got all of that.
Yeah.
But I think even that which was still offered, I think were significant portfolios if you look at it.
Yeah. So just, I mean, earlier our colleague Ayanda Mhlongo, she did a piece around the IFP and how it could possibly benefit from the GNU from a positions perspective, with the political analysts saying that they really shouldn't be focused on positions but participating in the GNU. What do you think could possibly happen for them?
Here is the issue. You'd recall that the letter from the chairperson of the Federal Council, Helen Zille, was very clear in terms of constituting the national government of the Government of National Unity. Yeah. So, I mean, she had said the fate of KZN and Gauteng basically lay in what is being agreed at a national level. If, for example, FedEx this afternoon decides that, well, we are not happy, perhaps we are staying out of it, somehow KZN will be affected, somehow Gauteng will be affected. Of course, Gauteng hasn't announced. We know that on Sunday they were supposed to announce, but because of the factors linked to what is happening at national, so they had to hold back. So that could somehow affect it. And you'd recall that the government of KZN comprises of 3 main plus 1, IFP, DA, ANC and NFP. Yeah. So if, let's say, the DA were to withdraw, for example, so then it then does open the door for MK, and I think it throws the ball back to the MK. And we already know that there are some sort of overtures from all the quarters to engage with everyone. Remember, the Government of National Unity was meant to bring just about everyone on board, but because of ideological differences, other parties saying we're not going to go there if there are those, and then if certain people are walking out, does that mean parties like EFF will now be amenable to go into the GNU? So the next few hours, Nompo, are quite crucial. I think by tomorrow we may wake up with a very clear idea of how and the shape, the form and the structure of the GNU will be. Yeah.
If there is stalemate between the ANC and the DA, and these possibilities that you've just outlined do happen, what realistically can the ANC work with the MK? Because, you know, the things that are said by MK leaders and members about the ANC are really quite negative. It's almost like they feel like they've sold the country out, they can't work with them. Would they really be able to accommodate that? Because we know that there've been, you know, issues between these individuals anyway, and that's part of the reason why there are these new parties that are factions of the old ANC.
Before we even go to the so-called leftist parties, that is the EFF and MK, I think the ANC is in a position, minus the DA, to form what you call the minority government.
Okay.
Even without them at this stage, you may be able to form from a national perspective. But of course, you'll have to consider the provincial aspects because the KZN, as we have said, will be affected,
yes,
and somehow Gauteng. So which means then you'll have to, your discussion will have to extend to some of those parties. But remember, Nompu, in politics, there are no permanent enemies.
Absolutely.
Only permanent interests.
Yeah.
So we may disagree on one area, but agree on the other.
Yeah.
So clearly, if the DA FedEx takes a decision that, well, given what the ANC or what the president has offered to them, so they are not taking it, I see the ANC steaming ahead with the minority government and at a later stage engaging with a number of other parties, because that was not the intention. The intention was to create a government of national unity. Remember, there are still other parties that are in the mix. You're talking about 10 parties here. It's maybe just one party that is not necessarily agreeing with what is happening. So if, let's say, it is outside now, you steam ahead with these ones, and I assume you'll be having engagements with others. Perhaps at a later stage they join. I mean, EFF is basically saying with the DN and FF Plus there, we're not coming. So what does that tell you? So one of the pieces goes, and then perhaps your foot is in, or your first foot is in. I don't know. They can probably work out things around FF Plus. So it does appear that the next few hours will be very crucial, and this announcement is indeed imminent. And I think the ANC is likely also to give us an update, perhaps also in the next few hours, about what's going to be happening.
Yeah. One last thing, and very quickly, Mzwai, are we going to get an announcement before the weekend or on Sunday?
Maybe by the weekend.
All right.
Maybe by the weekend.
We wait and we see. Thank you so much. SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeche there for us.